Bafethu is another Ama farmer. Welcome. You know, one thing I appreciate about our show is that we don't just show you the primary side of agriculture. We try to show you also the processing side. Because, like I said before, for that mealie to be turned into pap, a process has to happen. So today we are looking at something that, you know, we take for granted. The sauce, the sauce. Hey, pela dijo, this not the sauce, this not the spices. They are boring. So today we're here with a company that actually makes sauces. Utla, but the sauce, but the spice. Hey, Mara, what's again? I think I'm talking too much. Sisi, where are you from and who are you?
Thank you, Tabi, for having me. So my name is Katlego Suze. I'm originally from Mafikeng, but I was raised in Pretoria. So I'm a, let's say, young agro-processor here in Gauteng. I don't want to say the age. I don't want to give it away. But basically, that's who I am. I grew up in the village of Slagole in the northwest and Mafikeng as well. And then later, when I was about 9 years old, then moved here into Pretoria. And I think my whole life has basically been around the rural and the city. And basically, when I was living in Mafikeng, my grandfather had a farm. So I grew up around the space of a farmer who was also supplying and feeding communities. He farmed mealies, he farmed, what do they call those beans? You know those, they don't have an English name. I don't want to say sugar beans. Because if it's now.
No, didn't know. I get say, but I know them.
Yeah, so we had that. And what else did Grandpa have? I can't remember, but we also had livestock. So it was a mixture of both. My maternal and paternal grandparents had livestock and crop farming. So that's how I ended up being where I am.
So yeah, so you do have an agricultural background.
I do, yes.
So why don't you venture into agriculture per se, like primary agriculture?
I would love to. It's a plan. However, you know, being in the city, then you understand something called technology. So in that background, and we got a bit more advanced in terms of how do we also improve what our grandparents struggled with, certain things like that. So that's how I grew more interest in the after effect part, which is the secondary sector of farming. And I think I'd like to explore that more, but it would be nice to farm my own produce in terms of what I'm doing and then later on transfer it as well.
So speaking of which, you are into agro-processing, like you said. So, like, what did you study? Any courses that stuck out for you?
So let me just say, I was like a trouble kid in high school. Yeah, I hated books, by all means. So post-matric, I studied my diploma in hospitality management, and that covered food and beverage sector. But there was more industry related to hotels and caterings and that kind of lifestyle. So it wasn't more into farming. I struggled because I tried to apply to a certain university to do food technology courses. And I couldn't get access because I couldn't make it to school. Not that my marks were bad. I mean, I got close to one distinction.
How is that possible?
I'm a genius. I don't need
books. Okay.
I studied hospitality management, and then I later, I think for a year, did not complete the course. I then started working in corporate finance for about 8 years. And with that company, basically, it shaped my understanding of corporate needs of a business. Fortunately, it also worked with miners and farmers. So I got a bit of insight in terms of how to handle clients to some extent. And then COVID came. And when COVID came, the first thing I did was I took a culinary course that my husband encouraged me to do. So I then went and did some training for cooking lessons, introductory to cooking and chef skills. And from there, ever since, the love of food grew.
Let's get to now why you're here. First of all, when I saw you guys at AAT conference, I saw the name Lemme Chew. Who came up with that name, Bafethu, and why?
That's an interesting story. So when I was in high school, I got a fake handbag, Jimmy Choo.
Okay.
Yeah, and my husband would always, then boyfriend, would always make fun of it, you know. So besides the passion for cooking, I always cooked. And he said, you know what? Hey, let me chew. Bring me food. Now
So
go
wait,
get your Jimmy Chew. Yeah.
So he called you Lemme Chew at that time because of your fake Jimmy Chew bag.
Yes. So it was actually supposed to be Lemme Chew with a CHOO. And the funny thing is, Lemme is my maiden surname. So so that's how you write Lemme, Lemme. So that Lemme Chew, he's always eating, I'm always eating. That's how the name came about. I know, right?
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys actually, you do like body spice lady sauce. Tell me more about Lemme Chew.
So we're a food manufacturing company. For now, we currently have a range of condiments that we manufacture, which is your spices and your sauces. And we firstly started off with sauces. When I was in corporate, I would blend a few of ingredients, sell them to colleagues, and surprisingly enough, they liked it. And when I resigned from my employer in 2019, I didn't know COVID was coming 2-3 months later. So we started an alcohol business, only for the president to shut us down. And that didn't work. It was not
This is before COVID.
the pineapple, the proper stuff.
Hey.
I always do proper things.
Yeah, no, of course, that's true.
Yeah, basically the business then crashed in terms of liquor selling business, and then the focus was, this is all you have, this is what you know, you need to focus on it. I went and did research in terms of compliance on how to actually make this a reputable product. My husband is great in sales and marketing, so he worked on the branding part of it, and I worked on improving the ingredients and the recipes. And we then invested more time into the sauce. It hit I think its first retail shelves in 2021. So our first retail shelf was with OBC Group. They took in our products. I think we were supplying about 10 stores then. And because there was growth and we were making money, and then we're like, no, but we need to introduce either a commodity or we need to like just make something interesting in terms of these sauces. Then the spice idea came. So one of our hottest sauces, we transformed it into a spice version. And then we, I want to say there was a trend of going to the township back then when you were living in the suburbs. You'd always want to go to the township to either go eat chisanyama, either get a kota, or you either get African cuisine, which is your skop plagwan. So
or
we had
magwinya
and stuff like that. So we had this thing that we would go and drive out every weekend to get our car washed and then get something to eat. And my partner had this interest in traditional food. For me, I didn't understand what is the big deal about this thing, man. Like, it's not even nice. Like, we don't want to eat this. You buy me kota. Yeah, no, you buy me kota, and now you have that because my mom makes this all the time, And when we went home, you'd ask my mom, how do you make this? And my mother said, no, Katlego, you just need to add 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whoa, I was like, can't we simplify it? Is there not one thing that we can just add? And that's where the aha moment came for one of our recipes, which is the mogodu spice. So we took the spices to another company who had the machines and equipments and the technology to blend for us. We gave them the ingredients. We said, put this and this together. We're trying to put up these type of products. They did that. We took it to family members. They sampled it. They came back. Actually, that ingredient was supposed to be for hardboard. People came back and said, no, man, this goes well with mogodu. It's okay with the hardboard, but we understand the basics of it's a seasoner. But mogodu, it's a killer. And that's how we named that product mogodu spice. Although it works for all African cuisine dishes like your trotters, chicken feet, hardbody, scopo. You can even have it with an egg. I promise you, mogodu spice, sprinkle an egg on it.
Mogodu spice, I'm not sure about that. So the thing is, I'm listening to your story and I'm fascinated, but people must understand, these things, they have a process. How long did it take for you to actually get to a point where now you can supply shops?
It's a very lengthy process, I'm not gonna lie, and it's a very difficult process. Mostly it's expensive. You need to be ready to invest in it financially. These things don't just come by word of mouth. For me to get into retail shelves, I had to knock on the doors personally. I mean, people ask me all the time, how do you get your products into ShopRite and Checkers? And I said, guys, I go to the website, I apply. Technology, I ask Google whatever I want to do. Google, how do I supply so and so? and it gives me answers and I follow the prompts. It's as easy as that. So I didn't get any special golden ticket, brown envelope under special preference thing. No. I've went through the entire process. I've been rejected so many times. It has been so devastating. I've put in money, we've lost in money. We've done labeling and we've been told it's not the right labeling. You need to change it after you spend thousands and hundreds of money into it. So you need to work on basically what the requirements are asking you of it to be in those certain spaces, and you need to invest in terms of your compliance. So that's the better half of it.
So now you are basically now producing at a much larger scale. So I want to know, who mixes your stuff for you?
So we outsource our spice products. So we've got a different company that's blending for us. As I mentioned, we gave them certain ingredients and said, please put this together, and we want to see how the market responds to it. Then they bring it to our facility, and then we package it. So we have packaging machinery that can accommodate spices, but the sauces we manufacture ourselves. So we buy our supply from Tshwane Market in bulks, and then we crush the chilies and all other ingredients that need to go in there, and package the sauce as well.
What is the most important factor you need to consider before you even start mixing that sauce?
Most important part, in terms of operations, this is coming from me as a food safety manager, definitely hygiene. We need to consider the hygiene of our working environment. We work with very sensitive products which are consumables for people. And it's important that people know that we practice the most highest standards in terms of our food safety measures in our facilities. We make sure that there is maintenance in terms of our machinery and so forth. We make sure that the facilities we are working from are up to the standard, and we make sure that our employees are trained and in line. You know, we don't want to go out there and sell something that is actually not safe to consume for people. So people need to understand that we actually look at all those things. And those are the most expensive factors when I talk about operations and being able to abide to those type of rules and standards, basically. Speaking
of employees, in fact, one thing I appreciate about what you guys did, you and your husband, you saw a gap and you actually took a risk. You didn't say, there's no jobs. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like, we spoke about it outside, you and me, that you know what, the majority of people out there, it's not that there's no opportunities, it's just that they don't have access to those opportunities, or they don't know of those opportunities. So like, what do you say to youngsters out there who want to do what you do?
I would say do research, most definitely. Spend time on, we've got nice tools now, AI. Chat box, what do they call them, Google and all of that. People need to spend time on that. You need to, if you have a thought, you can even, what is this? Talk Google now. Speak to it if you don't even know how to write or spell the right word. You need to go and do research. I also didn't know certain industries exist. I didn't know there were environmental specialists that people go around checking people if they're doing the right thing. I thought it was just, integrity that we're moving with. I thought you need to do right before everyone tells you, no, don't do this, But there's actually someone there who monitors that, and that's a career. You find careers in little things, in small tasks, and people just need to do research in terms of stretching their thought, in terms of what they need to do. We don't get all the answers in university. Some of the answers are sitting in our pasts where we grew up, and you could see, well, hey, Ntate Moholo is charging batteries for the community. Don't you understand where is this power coming from? You need to teach yourself certain things that came from the back, and then say that I want to build from this because my ancestors or Baholo Baga did this, So we need to do a little bit more research in terms of who we are, find ourselves, and then we'll find our talent within that.
Now back to Lemme Chew products. I mean, like, what has the feedback been so far from customers?
Feedback has been great.
Obviously, you're going to say that. Obviously, you're going to say that. Your husband is sitting there and he's probably going to agree to that. Yeah, feedback, okay.
There's different feedbacks that we receive, Like, I'll be honest, like, we had a situation where before we knew, we had to develop and test products and actually, products go through a phase, we learned as we go. So we didn't know everything from the beginning when we were starting. We had an incident where our products were also fermenting, and a client was not happy with it. By a client, I'm talking one of the biggest retailers. And we had to do a recall, as small as we were. So There was negative feedback because now a customer would take it back to the shop refund the client, and we had to now understand, there's a whole non-conformance report that you need to do, and traceability from the client aspect to where you delivered to. So it's a long chain. I mean, we've received terrible feedback that gave us sleepless nights, and we didn't know what to do, what we did wrong, until we had to get experts in. And that was a wake-up call. So we've also had feedback where people are just not happy with the viscosity of the product. No, it's too watery. No, it's too thick. That time you have a set recipe with set volumes. You literally can't change it. Then you need to understand, maybe it's not for this market or it's not for this use. You know, you need to differentiate who your customers are. So every time you put out the product, it teaches you something. We really appreciate the criticism because it builds us. But we also get mostly good feedback.
It sounds like you're going through a rigorous process before you even introduce something new to the market. Is that correct?
It's hectic. It needs to get approval in so many aspects. And to get funding for it is also a drag. I mean, we could be sitting with something that we've asked for funding for 2 years ago, and we wanted to launch 2 years ago, but we only have the privilege to send it now. Send it out now because the funds are only there now. So that teaches us that things are not also immediate in terms of business. Maybe it's all God's timing. We just need to wait and see when is the perfect timing for things to be put out to the world and the world to receive it in a good way. So we are basically at the moment trying to repackage our spices. I'm excited for that. I think probably in the next month or so, the new boxes should be out. So I'd actually like for people to look out for the new packaging. So it's not going to be in the plastic form, it's going to be in a box. But of course, we need to sell out the plastic ones. That stock needs to go, and then gradually we'll introduce the boxes as they go.
Now, you said you source your stuff from Tshwane Market, all right? Like, do you physically go and source them yourself? Because sometimes, hey, the ingredients they're very important. Yeah? You can't just choose Ceylon just one in a box.
Yeah.
So tell me about the process.
So we do our own stocking process. Firstly, because we're still a small-scale business. So secondly, quality over everything. We need to understand what we're looking for. We've tried to work with other farmers before in their own capacity, but there were also some sort of compliance issues, which I want to encourage our farmers locally that please get your certifications in place, guys. We cannot use your product if there is no GAP certification or any form of inspection in terms of how you are growing that, how do you take care of the residue in terms of pesticides that you're using and all of that. We need to manage that because at the end of the day, we need to process that and put it in people's mouths. So there is a strict line between where we buy and where we don't buy. We do audit our suppliers, which is quite important, but we do all our stocking processes just to manage that whole process of safety in terms of our suppliers.
Now I'm still stuck on that thing, and you stopped.
Hey,
Banna.
ish. There was no money. Ramaphosa shut it. It's like cupcake, nothing like that.
President Cupcake, we shutting down a whole lot of things up
And
in
then
here.
he said to us, no, we will only drink maybe Thursday to Saturday, 9 till 6. I said, people have sauce the whole day, all day. This is not working.
He shuts down. Cupcake doesn't play, bruh.
He's the man.
So now, in terms of Lemme Chew, what are your future plans for the business?
Future plans are quite bigger than ourselves. We are looking at exporting our products firstly. So we're looking more into the export market for now. We also have an opportunity to manufacture pet feed for an international somebody from Finland and who's going to distribute to China. So we are looking forward to that, most importantly. And we're looking to grow our count of employees, I just want to say, because we've scaled our factory to the township. So we are trying to encourage people more in the townships where they will get to experience what an industrial factory should look like if they haven't been in there, what agro-processing is, what it does for the community, how we manage food waste. Most importantly, there is a lot of food waste in the township. And if we can provide programs that educate the young, even the older, in terms of how we can reprocess the food that we have and restore it and keep it for much longer. We are open to do courses like that in a longer run. So skills development is also something we're looking into in the long term.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have your hands full.
We do.
Yeah, man. So, Kunja, your husband is, what does he do?
So Sam Suze, you can Google him.
I can Google him. Nah, I ain't gonna do that.
So Sam is our CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. So he's handled the branding of the business from where we started. And he's also got post-education after matric in advertising management. So he's handled the basic needs of the marketing and sales of the business. He does the customer relationships in terms of retail store managers and all of that. So he's more out there as opposed to me in operations, more indoor.
Katlego from Northwest to this Katlego now. It's been a long journey. What have you learned throughout this journey that will always stick with you?
I've learned a lot, mostly resilience. I just want to say that it hasn't been easy, you know. I've seen the downside of poverty. I've also seen the upside of riches. And I've been able to blend both. I think that I understand the balance of life, and I purely see the vision of where I want to go in life, and I know nothing's going to come easy. We've fought a lot for where we have to be. I know a lot of people know when they hear Lemme Chew, some of them be like, hey, Bale. Oh. And there are people who are like, hey, Lemme Chew, we're really proud of them. Those people are pushing because people always know different sides of the story. But nevertheless, I see a girl who has actually found herself now, is in true leadership mode and is setting a foot for many people and just encouraging women out there to also stand up and have a voice, do what you need to do to be actually proud of where you come from and where you're going.
Now I'm still going to hammer on that point, Tahore. How is it possible that we're sitting with a 45% unemployment rate and then you get people like you guys, you know, who makes a plan? I mean, just to give you an example, I have a little cousin, I think, I don't know, he's in grade 4. I asked him, where does milk come from? He says, ShopRite. Okay, shop. Where does ShopRite get the milk from? He didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So we're sitting with that problem where it's not for the opportunity, they're not there. It's just that people are not, they don't have knowledge of them. So, I mean, like, last parting words from you. What would you like to say to that young Katlego who's going to be watching this?
Let me touch on the unemployment part first before the young Katlego. You know, this is something we have to address and it's very serious. You know, I'm putting on my serious face now. There is a very huge gap in terms of employment in South Africa. And I believe that it is mostly impacted by the attitudes of people, you know. I mean, I've had a phase where I've employed about 16 people. It was crazy. I think at that time it was the largest number we had in our operations in terms of employees, and both were in operations and in sales. And it was difficult to manage, I will say, but I had the support structure. And support structure, I'm referring to contracts where I've signed with skills development agencies to train these people in terms of how to sell, employment labor law acts, what is POPI, how to conduct themselves in a work environment, leadership and management training. You know, they provide different courses and a certification that benefits your CV at the end of the day. And I would provide this to the employees. It was open. If you said you're struggling with something like this, here it is. But our employees have a lack of knowledge in terms of how to conduct themselves in an employment environment for a long term. Once they're in there, they feel that they know much better than you. And then they have excuses about showing up for work. Either they are sick, either they don't understand what they need to do, either they generally have excuses for a whole lot of things that don't make sense and drain the employer. You know, we need people who are more dedicated and passionate about what they do. You know, you can't come to an interview and say, I can do this, I can deliver this, this is my skill. And 3 months down the line in the office, we have to chase and beg you to do certain things like that. It affects us as the employer. It is a cost for us. For me to pay the training services is money. For me to get you uniform is money. For me to put you out in a store and travel you and put marketing material in front of you is money. And I need to pay your salary. They need to respect that role and give us the same amount of work back. But we find that we're putting out all these costs, outputs, but the input is so little that their attitudes are at the wrong place, because probably I'm a black person.
And you are young, and you're
I'm
a female.
young, and you know, there needs to be a level of respect when it comes to us being supported and trying to create employment in South Africa. Yes, we are trying to do our part as employees, as small businesses, because the government will direct them to say, go to these small businesses that we are assisting, ask them for a job. We take in these people and we get the minimum respect. So it's difficult. I think that it needs to be put out there that people need to have a certain change of character, that even if a business is small, it deserves the same amount of respect as a commercial business, because how else would we get there? They need to come in with a footing that we are here to grow and we are here to build a business. And money needs to come in. Most importantly, the revenue needs to come in for us to afford a salary and all these things. You can't just want money going out all the time. Money is not from trees, you know? So we need to respect that. And I think the youth struggle with that. If they can get themselves in line with that, we would grow our businesses much quicker than we actually anticipate to.
And also the unemployment rate would actually drop.
It will be dropping.
Because then you have people that are employable.
Employable, trustworthy, have long-term relationships in the job, are actually moving up into higher positions, getting more opportunities. Then you realize that you came in as an assistant, but now you're a food technologist because you took the initiative to learn in the business. You know, you're not always shutting down every opportunity that comes its way. So they need to be open-minded to certain things like that.
Once again, I'm going to close it because that already you've answered a lot of my questions and thoughts, and that was amazing. Katlego, once again, thank you for coming through. You and Brasem sitting over there. Thank you for the wise words of wisdom. Wise words of wisdom.
Yeah, it's not our mother's tongue.
No, Mfethu, thank you so much, Mfethu. This is actually going to be helpful to somebody who's watching.
Yeah.
And also, big up to you guys, man. Big up to you guys. I mean, you guys moved into a space that is not popular. You understand? I mean,
not at all.
Despite Mfethu, you understand? It's not an easy thing to do, you know? And once again, strength to you guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Can we just mention where the products can be found?
But Mr. Marketing Manager there wants me to tell people where to buy the products. Okay, fine. I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell the people where to buy the products.
Thank you. I love that.
Okay, and just bring me the other one. Seeing that this is a marketing what? Give me Dieter.
There's yours. So now you've got sauce. Yeah.
Mafethu, do you see the shenanigans that are happening here on our farm? People, why don't hijack Ayanamar?
No, you need to know where you get it.
Okay, sharp. I'm going to give you this opportunity. By the way, this is one of the spices, but we'll show you guys now.
The sauce.
Utagara spice, get sauce.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm unemployable also.
So you can search www.lemmechew.co.za. You can order from that platform. You can order on WhatsApp 062-016-1305. And the products are also available in retail shelves. So maybe check with your nearest ShopRite, Checkers, Spar, Meat World, and OBC. That's where you'll probably find it. And we are coming soon to Pick and Pay and Macro and Cash and Carries. So look out, guys. Products will be everywhere and everywhere. Please support us. Okay, so we also have a resellers program. It's network marketing here. But this one is about sauces and spices. So you can also join a resellers program, ask us how on any of those platforms I mentioned, and we can actually get you to distribute in whichever area you are.
And with that, Mafethu Nyaivala, eventually, I'm closing this show. Do you see the type of people we bring to the show, Mafethu? It is actually possible. It is actually possible to become the next Lemme Chew. It is actually possible for you to become the next Patrice Motsepe Mafethu. All you have to do is dream. All you have to do is stand up and as to do your research. Thank you so much, Mafethu, for coming through to I'm a Farmer. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. See you again on the next one.